Hello. Well, as I was cleaning here and I got some more stuff, and there's been quite a few subjects I wanted to address through lives, so I thought, well, there's a storm a coming, and I cannot focus much on anything, so why don't I just start one of my unexpected lives? And I'm going to try to address a few things in it. Number one, I had a lot, I cannot even count how many requests I had about making goddess pendants. Um, and that is one of the simplest things. And also, it was about showing you more on how to set gemstones, both natural and faux, with clay, including faceted gemstones. And I'll have to grab another bowl of gems that I have somewhere in the other room for that. But, and then while these will be baking, hopefully I can still sit upright. And we'll talk a little bit about reducing old canes. So it's a multi-purpose live, and it will go for as long as I can sit on the chair. Now, let's start first with the goddess pendants. Most of the goddess pendants that you see around will be something like this, in this style, that have a lot of micas and glitters. Hi, Linda. Oh, awesome. You have a PDF with that too that explains better how to make the cabochons. So they will have a lot of micas and a lot of glitters and a lot of all kinds of stuff. I mean, don't get me wrong, some people really love that. But if you want something that would be more artsy, if you want, and from the occult point of view, a little bit more potent, um, you want to think a little bit your pendant. Why? Because as you can see, this one is with an amethyst and an onyx. No, with two amethysts and an onyx. But if you look a little bit, it's kind of a mumbo jumbo. It doesn't have a lot of, it doesn't have a focal point. It was done like this just because the person who wanted it like this. And I wanted to show you how to make more, if you want, thought and not necessarily elaborate, but more um, artsy, if you want, pendants, goddess pendants. Now you have the simplest way of making a goddess pendant is to use a mold of faces. I know most people use the Scalpy mold, and I have it. Let me grab it real quick. And I can tell you one thing about it. It is the worst, not maybe not the worst, but among the worst molds I have ever used. The quality of the material is horrible. No matter how much release you put, you're going to get your clay stuck. The faces wouldn't be that bad. They still need a little bit of sculpting here and there. I preferred to get the best flexible molds, face it. There are many face molds out there, and some are really, really gorgeous, but they're a little bit over my budget. So I just got this one. Now, what you need to know on this one is that the faces have a little bit of a negroid feature. So if you want to have a Caucasian, you'll have to intervene a little bit around the nose. But the way that you start your pendant, number one, prepare some scrap clay. You don't need all kinds of fancy clay. Depending on how you want your pendant to be, if you want it to be straight or if you want it to be curved, but work directly on your baking base. Then if you want to have it done with gemstones, then select, I'll show you how to select your gemstones. I would not recommend you to get this kind of gemstones. Now this one, that's a snowflake obsidian, and I'm so happy about the new granite board because now you'll be able to see much better what I'm doing. But see, these are a little bit too large. Even if you find one that would be flat enough to fit on a pendant, they are a little bit too large and they will make your pendant very heavy and very big. So the best thing that I suggest you to do, you can find these stones, tumble stones on eBay. They are relatively cheap. It depends where you get them from. Obviously, if they come from a farther away country, they will be more expensive as shipping. But I suggest you get the medium, not the small, because the small are really, really tiny. But you want something that would be in the medium range. So this would be a large range. These would be, this is still in a large range, but these would be the mediums. And they come in, they are by weight. And generally, they list what stones are in that lot. And you can get a whole bunch of stones in that. I normally, when I buy them either in the 5 pounds, rarely in the 3 pounds, because between 3 and 5 it's pretty much the same shipping. So once you get yours, look for stones that would be relatively flat. If you are doing your pendant on a curved base, then obviously you want one of the sides of the stone to be slightly curved, because it would sit better on the polymer clay and you wouldn't have to work a lot to fit it there. So then you choose whatever stones you want to put on there. And this is still a large, but let's go with this aventurine. If I don't find any other lace agate, this is a little too tall. Or maybe with the pink quartz. And choose your stones and first try to arrange them how you would want them to be on your pendant, because you will design your pendant around your stones. And I will show you now how to select the stone itself. See, this one does have a flat side, actually has 3 flat sides, but it's a little bit too tall. This one is mildly tall. This one is also kind of between too tall and mildly tall. And this one should work depending on what you want to do. And these are definitely too tall, but again, it depends how you want to place your pendant. I'm going to select flatter stones. Let's say these pink quartzes. And another thing that I said in the tutorial I did before about setting stones in polymer clay is whenever you have a transparent stone, always place something under it that would be shiny. Because I'll show you what happens when you set the stone directly on polymer clay. See how it kind of loses a little bit of its prettiness. Excuse me. Yeah, it's a big pollen here. Hi, Amber. But if you get just simply a little bit of aluminum foil and place it right in the middle of the stone, see the difference? How it instantly pops up and it's lighter. In the same with this one. It will instantly be lighter and shinier. Otherwise, when they are translucent, you'll pretty much see the drab clay behind it. Hi, Tonya. Hi, Zenta. Yay. But what you need to do is to make sure that your aluminum foil is not as wide as your stone. It has to be about 1 to 2 millimeters inside. So, as I said, first you decide how you want to place your stones, what kind of design you want to make with them. You cut the pendant shape the last. So you decide if you want to have the I'm still not very happy with this one. I think it's a little bit too tall, so I might completely eliminate it. Then the next thing is to place your little goddess face. And I know that I'm not going to have my pendant bigger than this, so I can cut stuff from here. Hey, Teresa. And then always before doing any kind of mold like this, I'm not sure if I have enough, get your clay and first run it in a bowl. And run it between your hands. Hello to UK. Run it roll it in your hands until you see no more folding lines. It's okay if you see your handprints, but no folding lines. And then pick your face. Now I know that this one is a baby one. Do I want to make a bigger one or do I want to make a smaller one? Let's try and go with this one. The only issue with the best flexible molds is that most of them are designed for resin, so they might sometimes be a little bit too deep for polymer clay, but that is fine because you can shorten them up. I'll show you how. So what I love about them though is that usually you don't need any kind of release for them. All you do is gently pull like this, do once like this, do once like this, and there you go. So see, it has, this one is not, I'm sorry, one of them is more negroid and the other one is more Tahitian. I mean, it would be great if you want to do something, you know, like Moana or something. Yeah, don't buy this one. This is wasted money. Hi, Carla. Now, if you want to make it shorter, all you have to do is if you have good hands, just get the blade and cut the bottom of it. I'm going to try it. You know, my hands are not that good, but just for the purpose of showing you how. Make sure it's well stuck on the working base, and then Always remember that these blades, if you don't push real hard into them, they will not cut your fingers if you go like this. So pretty much select your height like this, the bottom of your thumb resting on the working surface, and here your blade. And as you go up and down, your blade shouldn't move if you have good hands, not twitchy hands like me. So that's how you're able to hold the blade at the same distance. And if your clay is well stuck to the table, you should be able to, and I didn't stuck it to the table properly, but I told you, sometimes I would be able to show you how it's done, but not able to do it myself. So I guess this might be one of those, because with the bad weather, it affects me. It's still fairly far and I'm back in the yellow zone, but let's hope it won't be any tornado. Okay, I might have to go like this, unfortunately. But you got the gist of how you can make them shallower, not so deep. Okay. No, I cannot. Sorry about that. It's my hands. At least I'm not, I got some Cascade beverage, and I had to go to my neighbor to open the bottles for me. That was really, um, I would go more with these, but then it would be kind of hard to, yeah, I don't know. You may, let's see. You may, let's see. Actually, let's try. Why not? Let's try. I'm going to flatten it to just get it stuck. Let me grab another popsicle stick. Oops. Those were my stones. Okay, let's see if it works. I'm not sure if it does, because you might have to come with your thumbs too close. I think that's why I never did it like that. I always did it with the thumbs, but let's see. I still don't. Now the granite board is very, very new, so you know what? Let me, because this might be why it doesn't stick properly. As I said, it's brand new, so it might have some kind of protectant thingy on it. Let's see if it sticks better. If need be, I can bring back my whiteboard, but I'd rather test this one because I think that you can see much better on it. Yeah, I know, and it's fine. I have one of those, Amber, but sometimes I cannot grip at all. So that one still needs gripping, and I wasn't able to use it. I have one of those. It goes like a V, and it's got teeth on both sides of the V, and it works from this size lid to this size lid. And with the larger jars, I cannot use that one because I cannot hold the jar. But I tried and I wasn't able to. Okay, let's see if it stays stuck. Oh. It's going to take a while until the board gets broken in. Yeah, I guess you can do it like this. So go ahead and try. I think that these are better than the playing cards because those would be too wide. See? So yeah, if you want to do it lower, that's how you can cut any of them. So I guess the trick, only be very careful because the playing cards as well as the popsicle sticks, they are not always perfectly straight. So careful with that one too. So let's do again this. I'm not going to thin it out because for this purpose it's just fine. Yeah, what area are you in, Tonya? Okay, so I use this one. And again, as I said, actually this one is a little bit too much. So whenever you work with these best flexible molds, they work beautifully to cut the excess with the pivoting blade. So place wherever it's more handy for you for the blade, always with a rigid blade, not with the flexible blade like for the satin slice. You need the rigid blade. Place it somewhere here and then press down and you'll cut the excess perfectly so you'll have a perfectly flat bottom of the cabochon. And you can try, I advise you to try it again from another angle because sometimes it doesn't get all of it. See? Exactly like for the satin slice. And then again, one time this way, one time this way, and then it will fall by itself at one point. There you go. So now we got our goddess face. And I was telling you, if you want a perfectly Caucasian, and if you want to get into the goddess and more into the sculpting business, I am going to show you what I recommend the best for sculpting. I know you see a lot of sculpting done with the ball styluses. And the big channels like Creative Reichi and Sugar Charm Shop and stuff, they use bowl styluses the most. But I'm going to show you something that, at least in my opinion, and I find them more comfortable to work with. Um, Number one are the wax carvers. And all of these you can find in my Amazon influencer store, and I try to find the cheapest offers. The wax carvers usually come in kits that are anywhere from 9 to 18. Out of all the, and you will find all kinds of uses for the other ones, but out of all of them, and whenever you decide to buy the kit, make sure it has this one in. On one end, it has this flattish thing that's like this. And on the other end, that's almost 90 degrees, it has this one. That's very, very thin. And actually, I thinned it out. I filed it a little bit more to the tip, and you can do perfect sculpting with it. The other thing are the silicone or rubber tipped sculpting tools. And out of all of them, these are the two that you'll need the most. Careful when you buy them, when you order them, because they come in different sizes. You want the small ones. You don't want the large ones. What you will use, they always come in four different shapes. But what you will use of those shapes is the conical one, and then the one that is flat. And then another tool that is absolutely a must if you decide to go and do more sculpting is the gum cleaner. This one. Because even if you have this one, notice that there's a big difference in the tip. Let me try and get it on white so you can see. The gum cleaner's tip is way longer and narrower than this one. So when you try, I'll show you here in a minute, when you try to do the nostrils, this would be for the, generally for face. So with this part, so the flattened one, And with this, as well as with the flat one, you will be working mostly on the eyebrow area, cheekbones, some of the nose, the inner corner of the eye. Um, then this, the other end, is invaluable for the mouth. I mean, practically, you cannot really do as good with other tools that you can do with this one. And then this is mainly for the nostrils and the little, I don't know how it's called in English. This little thing that's right above the, in the, right under the nose on top of the upper lip. So let's get to it. You want to remove these and first take care of your little goddess. First, make sure that she's well stuck in there. And always when you work with molds, try to alter them a little bit because you don't want your work to look exactly like everybody else's. So number one, and I'm going to remove my eyeglasses, so for a while I won't be able to see the chat. So, but I need to see what I'm doing here. Number one, depending on how you want to have your pendant, you might want to smooth her face out, or you can leave it a little bit more rugged. Then, as I said, they are not really Caucasian. So the changes that you want to do, first of all, is in the eyes. Go a little bit in here, deepen the inner corner. It only needs a touch, it doesn't need more. Just a touch. Just press down a little bit. Oh yeah, and another thing that you will need, and it's very useful, is a paintbrush with very, 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 very soft bristles. Because even with the paintbrush, you can still sculpt and smooth out. Then let's modify this nose a little bit. Let's make it a little bit more Caucasianish. So what we need to do is to gently pull this in and define more the tip. And as I said, this side, just thin out the nose a little bit. And remember what I was saying, that this is invaluable for nostrils. What you do, see under here, you just place it in one nostril, push it in, and gently go around. Very gently, because you don't want humongous nostrils. But see how all of a sudden it made the nose way more realistic. And then you go with the very thin tip and just reinforce this a little bit. Now let's get on to the mouth. We want to define the mouth a little bit more, and I told you that this is invaluable. It's much finer, much better to sculpt than your X-Acto knife. So go along the line and just press in. You can actually open the mouth if you want. Just press from the inside, because if it's just a little bit opened, make sure that you do the cut all the way to the edge of the lips. Then you can use this as well as this to do the area above the upper lip. And then again, as I said, this is invaluable. Place it like this and then turn up a little bit. Again, place it like this and then turn up a little bit. And we already have changed the shape of the mouth. Now, in order to enhance a little bit more the bottom lip, we turn back to this one, place it right under the lip here, and press down and up a little bit. And you can go further and define very gently the bottom lip if you want. And oops, and refine it some more. And then the trick with the smile is again done with the gum cleaner. What you need to do, you have to go exactly in the corner of the mouth, exactly here. Press and gently lift it towards the cheek. And see, you gave it a slight smile. If you want a larger smile, you just go a little bit higher. And we have a larger smile. Now we can change the eyebrow simply by enlarging it. And just a very gentle pressing here. That's all that I'm doing. And close the eye some more. And let's do the same on this side. Very, very gently. You don't have to mistreat the clay when you're sculpting it. Just go very, very gently. And then press the eyelid down a little bit. And now you can gently reshape it. I told you it's very easy to sculpt with this side. And just with these very subtle alterations, you can make your goddess pendant look not like a photocopy. Oh yeah, and the other thing is how to alter a little bit the cheekbone with the conical thing. Just come and press a little bit and then press on the other side and gently bring it down. And I'll have to show you at one point how to make a man out of a woman. And then simply smooth it out. And there we go. We have, now I can catch up on the chat. Let me see if I can make the, see how we changed it completely. Let me put another one with another, I have more scrap tape here, but so we can have a comparison. And there you go, Cupid's bow. Hi, Deborah. Okay, let's do another one just to see the differences. So I'm going to do the same. And then place it in the mold. And this is how you can change. So your stuff will always look different and more unusual and not, you know. And you see, it's not a lot of work and you can get the hang of it very easily. All you need is to practice. And this is scrap clay. So there you go. See, it's not a lot of difference. but just a few touches on this one makes the, hold on, I don't think I see, oh yeah, my screen. Just a few touches on this one makes it different than the other one. Yeah, and you can change the faces. Like for example, if you want, let me put it on another thing. I moved my. Oops. Goodness gracious! Take these gems out here. Like if you want to do a more Asian looking lady, then what you do, you just go here and you practically pull this area because you want to do the epicanthic lid. And you gently, gently pull it here. And as I was telling you, you can sculpt with your paintbrush. And another thing, yes, you can use very, very nicely the alcohol to get very smooth results. So just spray it and use the paintbrush. And there you go. You have an Asian eye now. And again, you can do, for example, you can do a completely semi-open mouth. You can even get it with thinner lips. All you have to do again with this, just push this down. Push this down. Decrease the Cupid's bow as well. You can change the expression. You can change everything. As I said, you can make a male out of a female if you want. You can make a larger nose. You can just pinch on the nose. Even if it seems that you're completely messing it up. Pinch on the nose. Lift it a little bit from the face. Bring the nose tip down. Fix the bottom area of the nose. And then all you have to do again is to do the nostrils. And of course, it requires a little bit more work if you completely change like that. But you can change, and as I said, you can change it into a man. You can change it into another race, and you can do all kinds of things. But you will need, the best will be to have these three sculpting tools because they work the best. Hey, Suzanne. Yay, Yes, we are all here. Now, before placing the stones, and I'm going to place only two, let's talk a little bit. As I said, we are going to do a more thought and more artsy pendant, not with all kinds of blings and glitters. Of course, we can make a blings and glitters one too, but let's try and discuss about this. So where do you want the attention to go in your pendant? Do you want it to be attracted by the stones mostly, or do you want it to be attracted by the face mostly? Because depending on that, this is how you're going to arrange it. So I want my line of interest to be pretty much like this. So I want this area of the face to be into attention, but also a little bit of the stones. So number one, as I said, let's first do some texture here, but we are going to do a very, 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 very delicate texture. No, just a second, because I think this is out of water. Just a second. Okay, sorry for that. So you'll say, well, how can we put the texture before? You can put it the texture first and the goddess second. That's fine. But let me first grab my little pieces of, I already have one there. Just make sure that it's very, very packed. And these will be only on the areas that will not be covered by other elements. If you happen to touch the face, it's okay, you can smooth it out. But I'm going to insist mostly on the areas that I know will not be covered by the other elements. And this will give you a very fine and delicate texture. Now this will be obviously for something imitating metal. I will do at a later time how to imitate something made out of wood or bone or ivory. But there we go. Let me try and get the camera to focus. This is what we are getting, a fairly natural look. Okay, thank you. Yes, that's it. All right, now let's place the stones. So I decided I want one of them to be like this and one of them to be like this, to be pretty much like flowers coming out of her hair. So I'm going to place a little bit of, oh God, there's a car alarm going off out there. And then I want one right here, backwards. Now, remember when we were talking about in the other live that I did on how to place stones? I was telling you that no matter how flat a stone might look, it will still have some irregularities. So what you want to do is to place a very thin sheet of clay on the back and even create a little snake, not snake, string. Snake is thicker. And this will go under the edges of the stone. And this is if you want your stone to be there and not ever move and be nicely placed. So see how I got it right under the edge of the stone. And then you place your stone wherever you want to place it. And this is valid for, I mean, not the string, because the faceted stones are fairly straight. They don't need straightening on the um, flat. And then you can come either with this or with your X-Acto knife and trim away the extra of the string. And get the X-Acto knife. Just because that tool is not actually sharp, it's just thinned, but it's not actually sharp. And once you trim the excess, make sure that you push in a little bit so you have clay between the base clay and the stone to hold your stone perfectly immobile for what is next. Yeah, and generally goddess pendants, they can be as easy as you just put this and then make some here and put some bezels. Or you can get more elaborate. And I'm going to put again a piece of thin clay under it. And you don't really need bacon bond or anything. I think that stupid clindamycin I had to take for my jaw gave me an ulcer or something. And again the same. String around. And I need to have a drink of water. Sorry. Okay, I got my water here so I don't have to leave. All right, so again, the same, the string around it. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I did it backwards. It has to go between, it has foil clay thing. It's just my stomach was hurting and I didn't think. So you put the foil, the clay. Thank you for noticing that. The foil, the clay, and the string. Good thing you noticed it. No, but see, since I had to do that treatment with the antibiotic, all of a sudden I have sometimes horrible heartburn, and it's not related to eating or not eating or nothing. That's why I think it might have given me an ulcer of some sorts. Remove this. And when it starts, it hurts. Yes, yes, thank you. I just messed up. I'm sorry. I had a stomach pain and it made me not be able to focus. Okay, so foil then clay. Foil then a little piece of clay, thin clay. And as I said, that's why you do the foil a little bit smaller than the stone. So this clay can grip on the stone. And then again, another string here and lift the extra one from here first. Yeah, it didn't make sense, did it? Yep. No, it was one of those very, very strong antibiotics that you always have to eat food with because they can cause acid reflux disease. And it's one of the worst on this, but it's a very strong one. And even if I took care to eat with it and all that, I had to interrupt the live at one point because of how badly I was hurting. It was horrible. Okay, we don't need the clay here. And again, remove all the extra. Let me fix this area here a little. Because with all the, take the stone out, put the stone in, I messed up a little bit here. Now, we shall need a couple of very, very fine bezels for this. So at this point, I will, and then I'll show you another thing with this, how to do a goddess with a crystal point, if I can still stand up. Okay, so for the bezel, we'll need the clay on a very thin, let me try and find a color that's more similar to this. I have a ton of mud clay here. Okay, it will be noisy because I have to start the machine for a minute. Okay. And this will be a work of a very delicate handling. These are pink quartzes, yes, and this is another quartz that's kind of has a little bit of ferrous dust in it. It's not dyed. It's not citrine. It's just ferrous dusted quartz. Yes, rose pink quartz, not rose quartz. When they are light like this, it's pink quartz. They have to be a little bit darker pink because you have pink quartz, rose quartz, cherry quartz. And then quite rare, you can find red quartz as well. Not sure if I still have any around. I had some pretty red quartzes. Not dyed, real red. Okay. And again, you don't really need the bacon bond because you have the clay that's under the stone that this one will stick to. Now at this point you want it to be nicely flat. Don't worry about it coming out like that because that's going to be fixed. And then simply start flattening it against the stone. Because remember, these are not regularly shaped. You just want a fine, delicate bezel around them. And you want it to look nicely flattened against the stone. And then I lost my exact one. Oh, there you go. And then you simply cut it straight. It's much easier to do it this way than trying to do a perfectly straight itty-bitty thing and then trying to place it perfectly straight again. It's much easier to do it this way. It's a different thing when you're dealing with a regularly shaped cabochon compared to tumbled and polished stones or designer cabochons, because they will not have the same curve, they will not have the same height. So it's very hard to cut a perfect bezel. That's why it's much easier to just place the bezel, flatten it against the stone, and then cut it following the stone. Sorry, I cannot see the chat right now. So after I put this one on, I will put my glasses, look at the chat, and then do the other one. And there you go. You can make this bezel pretty much as perfect as it can go. Now let me see if anybody asked anything. Okay. Yeah, I did take probiotics. Yeah, it was really bad. Oh, Holly, believe me, I've been going through a bottle of liquid antacid a week since I took that. Oh yeah, I've been dealing in gemstones for a long time. When I was still going to sell at venues, I was selling rocks as well. It was one of the passions of my life. I love rocks. I have quite a few pounds of them around the house. But yeah, I like to study them not only, but there's the story of how they formed. I find it fascinating. Why the same type of thing under one condition it will become this, but if the pressure is slightly changed, it will become the other stone. I mean, take the diamond for example. It can be the most, well, not really the most precious gemstone in the world, but it can be just plain coal. Depends on the pressures. I have no idea what those guys are doing in the bedroom. I keep hearing all kinds of noises. But yeah, no, I did not academically study gemstones. It was, as I said, one of my life passions. Actually, that's one of the things that I don't have actual academic studies in. But I can tell you one thing about stones. I learned a lot from, I was blessed to have some good neighbors when I was selling at fairs, and I made friends with a lot of Native American um, jewel crafters and metalsmiths and silversmiths, and I learned a lot from them. And yeah, I loved to go to fairs and venues. Unfortunately, I cannot do it anymore. I love to interact with people. You know how almost everybody else runs away from customer service? I love customer service. Even when you get some nasty customers. I always found it fun. And I had this thing I had to make every day 10 people smile. So I was always striving for that. And again, you can smooth the whole thing out with alcohol and a paintbrush. And there we go. Now let's wait for it to dry out a little bit and I'll catch up to the chat. Okay. No, thank you. You want the nose of the face. Hold on. Oh. Oh yes, into they do have a lot of energy. That's what I believe too. That's why I have so many around the house. All right, now for the next part, as I said, I'm going to do hair. Now we can do some extruder strings. I prefer to just do them. Oh, that's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. I know Teresa also finds a lot of stuff on the beach. So what I'm going to place first is the hair underneath. The strands that would go. Now see what I'm doing is I'm placing a few the way they would come from under the larger area of hair. And the same on this side. Now let's just grab a little bit and start filling up first the area that's just at the border of the head. Because we need this to be a little bit plumper. I need a little bit more. Do we want her to be a princess? Like, I mean, tiara and stuff, or not? What do you think? And it is just fine if you don't have the same exact color of clay, because it will be covered anyway. And I'll show you how to make hair very easily. I mean, hair that would look fairly realistic. Kind of stop it before it gets past the end of the cheek. And again, you want roll, because you don't want any kind of fold lines here. Roll, bring it to the width that you need, and then flatten it so you can place it pretty much here. And this one is too wide, so I'm just pulling it. Okay. Gently trim the excess. Then we need to, oops, the other one. We need to pretty much flatten this here, blend, arrange the edges, make sure that it's nice and flat. And again, just a pinch of alcohol. And you see how beautifully you can get things smooth with alcohol and the paintbrush. And at this point we can start very easily sculpt her hair. So if you part her hair, go like this. So down and a little bit to the side. Because you want to create a little bit of 3D effect as well. And you don't want really very strong lines. So just pretty much suggest them. You will want a little bit of texturization of this area because when you come and you add the color, you want it to become noticeable. But don't make deep lines, just barely touch the clay. And once you get down here, pretty much uh, cut into strips and try to mingle it with the little strings that you have put there. And you can add more strings, I'll show you how. So little lines, flatten them a bit with your finger. And then cut in strips. Now we can start talking about cutting the pendant, shaping the pendant at this point. Okay, let me see what I missed. Oh yeah, that would be very nice. Oh really? I don't know, I always found it really good. Yeah. I dressed as Medusa at one point in the Halloween party. It was fun. I got little plastic snakes and I dyed them goldish, and I just put them, I curled my hair and put the snakes between my curls. So just add very thin strings and then you can melt them in back in the hair with the paintbrush and alcohol. And that is valid for the other side of the face as well. Because it will look like they are coming straight from the rest of the hair. I don't know if the camera shows it properly, but see how I placed some strings here? And then gently melt them with the other clay. Of course, you need to wait for it to evaporate a little bit. And there we go. Now let's decide on how we are going to shape our bezel. Our pendant, not the bezel, the pendant itself. So if you notice, there is a balance of weight on here. We have on one side, we have the stones. On the other side, we have the face. So at about here, considering that the stones are heavier than the clay, at about here would be the center of balance of the pendant. So notch here, notch here. It's okay if you don't cut perfectly. You can always come with the X-Acto knife and perfect the cut. Now, honestly, I wouldn't do any kind of bezel on this one. The only thing that I would want to do is to round up the edges a little bit, so they would look a little bit more refined. It's fine if it's not perfectly symmetrical. I will keep the bottom straight like this, only I'll make it shorter. Let me see if it's well. Yeah, it's fairly well. I need this, plus this a pinch less bowing. So whatever you use for this part, just go over the edge. And remember what I said several times in my tutorials, don't fuss too much about perfect edges here, because this will take about 2 or 3 passes with the sandpaper to make it perfect. So there's no reason whatsoever to waste your time on trying to get this perfectly nice and perfectly smooth and perfectly, when it can be done much easier. Just round this, and let's add it some texture, because I don't want it to be, actually let me first smooth it out just to be more refined. And another thing I need to do, I'm going to make a hole here, and I need a cutter. At least they were here. And just didn't notice them here. Good night. Okay. Which one? This is too big. This looks fine. And then get this again and gently do a little bit of texturing here too. And see how you can have a very delicate goddess pendant without all that bling. And yes, we will add bling after it's baked. So let me get this in the oven and then I'll go ahead and pick a cane. Oh, you know what? Look at Stephanie Kilgast Petit Plat. She has a whole bunch of tutorials on how to make miniature succulents and all kinds of plants. So check her channel. Okay, I'll be right back. Okay, now let me grab an old cane real quick. Okay, and I'm going to tell you why I do this. Because I don't know how many of you know of Kathy Weaver. Kathy Weaver makes bracelets for hope. And those are bracelets for children, and lately she started making some for teens as well. Um, and she makes bracelets for the children who are in the hospital undergoing cancer treatment. I will put at the end of this live, once it comes on, I'll put a link if you want, if you have any kind of canes or anything that you could donate for her to make these bracelets. She makes thousands every year, and she goes from hospital to hospital. She's well known in her area. But the thing was that yesterday she had posted that she had some old canes that she couldn't revive, that they were going, they were cracking. And she had tried to base them with TLS, tried to get them in warm water to warm them up, wore them in her bra, and she still couldn't get them to warm up. They would still cracking because they were wrapped in translucent. So I thought of showing how to warm up. Now this is a very old cane, and I'll show you how it's. If I try to, I might have one even older than this. I'll have to look. because I think that I revived this once already. Okay, so this is not the best example. Okay, these are partial. They are parts of old canes. Let's take this one. Because this is all rock solid. And if I try to see how it breaks and cracks, and this would be valid for this one pretty much too, because it wouldn't bend. And they are very, very hard. So what you do first is this. You might have to do it for quite a while, because it's not so much the warming up as temperature goes of the clay that you need to do it. You need to get it moving. So it's just a gentle, almost tapping on it. And you just get it moving between your fingers. And you go up and down, and gently doing this. I always said I have yet to find a cane I cannot revive, as long as it's not, baked. Sometimes it might take longer, sometimes it might take less, but oh, good night. And the other thing that you have to remember, you can actually plump back a cane to a certain extent, not just reduce it. So you can press in from the ends as well, and then get it back on the, don't start rolling, don't start until you feel it moving inside. And you'll notice also that the very ends will seem to be a little bit stiffer than the rest when it starts warming up. Again, not as temperature, as movement. I hear all kinds of weird sounds in my bedroom, and whispers here, so it must be the cats. They are doing something. And the best thing is to work with the cane in sections. So don't try to warm up a cane this big. I would first cut it in 3 and then start working with it. Like for example, with this one, Very soon I'm going to cut it in half. And then start working on it. But I can already start feeling it moving. And let's test it. It should take more bending. See how I can bend it much more before it breaks now. Yeah, well, Connor's here, so I think it was Connor who did that. Yeah, they are always doing something. What you doing? He came to kiss on Whisper. Yes? Oh my goodness. He wants attention. Oh my goodness, they both want attention. What do you want? It's not even close to your meal time. Yeah, I know he's getting a little hungry. I started feeding Whisper a little bit at a time, not a lot at a time anymore. And I guess he's a little hungry right now. I'll feed him here in a little bit. But yeah, and again, go back and forth on the sides and then press them in again a little bit and then go again at it. Because as I said, you'll notice that the ends will be the last ones to actually get warmed up. I know. I know. Connor needs attention and needs to tell me something. See, now I feel it moving. So I should be able to actually start reducing it properly. And let me just straighten it up, because if you start with the even if I always prefer to reduce square ones, not round ones. I find they reduce more beautifully than the round ones, and it's much easier to reduce them without causing any distortion. But now I should be able to start reducing it without, and I'm moving much faster than I normally move on these, just to show you how to revive an old cane. I know. Oh my goodness. Woe betide you. Oh. Really? Oh my goodness. You hear my chatty cat? There he is. What? Tell me what? What? Really? Come here. Come here. Oh my goodness. Are you serious? Okay, Mama is busy. Okay, so while I was showing you, Connor's on my chair now. I was showing you Connor, I just kept working on it. And as you can see, it's way smaller. Again, keep going at it like this. So this is what I started with. And again, I'm going to cut it in half and go just with half. Let's see how flexible it is now. It barely breaks when I fold it in two. So it's fairly flexible now. Now I brushed him today. If you were wondering. There you go. What do you want? He's trying to get on my back now. That's not going to happen. Okay, and as you can see, it's fully revived. And it's not by temperature that you revive a cane, is by movement. You need to just keep gently pressing until the clay starts moving. And yes, at this point I can actually go rolling it. Because at this point I will not lose detail. So there you go. That's a lot of reducing. Come on, camera. Focus. Doesn't want to. But yeah, it's the revival of the cane. You see, it's yeah. Usually, what I do with them when they are small like this, I just make little bouquets with several of them of various dimensions. Let me put it back and grab one of those. I see I have all kinds of colors. Yeah, so it's a little bit too small for this camera. Put this in the scrap clay pile. And this in the, we'll reduce later and do stuff with pile. I make these beads that look pretty much like millefiori glass with these cans reduced to almost the extreme. And I think I showed you before. I have several dozens of them. But yeah, this is how I reduce them way tinier than what you saw. Can you see? There are some that are really, really, really tiny in there. And then these go on beads. And they look like glass beads pretty much. But yeah, this one is on the website. The tutorial for this one is on the website. The tutorial for this one is on the website, and for this one. So if you go with the beginner, and yes, yeah, I knew I had gotten that one. Here's one with pinks. Pinkish beads. But yeah, if you go on my website and you look for in the free tutorials there, and you go for beginner canes, there are like 3 or 4 floral cane tutorials there in the beginner area. Let me go check the oven. Whisper, whisper, whisper. Go eat. Go eat, baby. Come on. Go eat your cheese. Come on. Go eat. Go eat. Okay, yeah, sorry, I had to get Whisper some cheese. Okay. Mm, no, I don't have a tutorial on the bouquets, but I'm trying to remember because I know that I did them in a live. Let me check. Let me check if I can find it because I know I did something in a live when I did the beads. Give me just a minute. There's about 8 more minutes on the pendant. Give me just a minute. Okay. Do play with me Sunday. Yep, there you go. I am going to link it in the... It's Millefiori. It was exactly Millefiori beads. I'm going to put the link in the chat. There you go, Zenta. And it was alive about 2 months ago. It was, yeah, no, 3 months. It was on February 25, 2.5 months ago. And that's exactly what I said. Check on my website, on the beginner canes. There's a link there on beginner flower cane, so you can have examples to do the Millefiori beads themselves. All right. Yeah, but they are not very hard to make once you learn how to reduce the canes. And I showed several times how to reduce canes. Now, while that, I'll have to go check again on the pendant to take it out. But while that will cool off, let's, oops, my camera got all wonky. Let's work a little bit on the crystal thing. And I'll show you this time a really, really easy way to do a goddess pendant with the crystal point. I'm not sure if I actually, let me check because I'm not sure if I didn't do it already. I might have. Hold on. I don't want to repeat myself. Let me check. Because there was this one with embedding gemstones, but no, this one doesn't have crystal. No, I guess not. So we can go ahead and do it. The first thing that you want, let me grab my camera back, camera view back. The first thing that you want with the crystal, number one and very, very important, I do not recommend you to leave only the polymer clay to it, to hang to it. Why? Because you want, number one, you want partially this to show up, you know, from under the polymer clay. But this one just happens to have a few asperities and irregularities, but most of your crystal points will not have this. Actually, I'm not sure if I have them handy, I'll grab a few of the more regular ones, because it's much easier to see with those. I think I have them. Actually, Well, shoot, no, they are not handy. I have these other ones, but they are not fit for that. I have these citrines, but they are not points. They are tumbled, and these wouldn't work for crystal points. I just took them out to make sure that I have no points in here. Yeah, no, they're all tumbled. No points. Sorry, I'm not going to waste time looking for those. I'll just use this one to show you. Okay, so what we want to get is some wire. And find the end of the wire. I just so hate this new style of it's not handy at all. Okay. And you want a wire that would be like 20 or 22. And you'll do a kind of wire wrapping, not really wire wrapping, but you want a little bit of support for your clay. So you want the clay to have something to grip on. So make sure that you get this as far embedded in the whatever asperities might be in your crystal point as you can. And then simply do a loop on it, a wrap loop. I didn't get the other pliers. Oh well, I'll do it by hand. It's okay if it falls for a second. This is just for, I'm not going to bake this, so this is just for instructional purposes. It's okay if it's not perfect. Okay, let me go real quick and take the pendant out of the oven to bring it here to cool off faster. Okay. So you'd go pretty much like this on it. And again, you use pliers so you can wrap this as tight as you can. And then you first want a base. So get your, as I said, this one is not tightened properly and it's not going to be a finished piece. It's just to show you how to do it. And then grab some clay and do the first base wrap, the one that's going to hold your whole thing in place. Yes, you place some bacon bond. I'm not going to place bacon bond because I don't want to have to wipe bacon bond from this crystal for the next week. But first, douse everything in bacon bond and then simply do a rough wrap just to cover that wire. But at the same time, you will have a wire armature holding on your clay on top of the crystal. Your only issue here is not to trap air. That's all you need to be concerned about. And on this, you can come with all kinds of things. You can even make an itty bitty goddess, because this facet thing has some smaller areas. And then if you also get the wild flights, then you are in it for a treat, because let me grab it. That one has all the minuscule molds that you can use. And yeah, the tiny ones will not fall. You kind of need to gently pull them out. But you have itty bitty faces, and of course you can gently shape them too. Not going to go too much on this, just a little bit. Make it smile. But this is pretty much how you would do it. Let me grab the white flights. And with the wild flights as well, it's a little thick. It's for more for resins. The really itty bitty ones are not that thick. They can be easily used for whatever you need. But the ones that are a little bit bigger might be a tad too thick. You can make a nature goddess. You can make a whatever you decide you want to make. Yeah, and I know you wanted some crystals and stuff to know how to do them. I think that this should help you in your... Another way, actually, let me show you this. Another way to make sure that you get thinner things, just press with the... Remember, I told you I prefer this one. This is another one of the reasons. Just press with the end of the ruler in there, and then just trim the edges, because it will be a little bit thinner in the middle. Make another one of these. Then you can put more hummingbirds, whatever you decide to put, or if you have another smallish, no, mold, you can use it. Let me use this flower. Oops. Now I can make a little bit of here for the goddess. Again, remember, this is just for showing you how to work it. But you can do a little goddess pendant just fine like this. And then you can go ahead and embellish it however you see fit. And of course, you can make this much longer to have almost like a wand being there. Now let's get on. Yeah, she's fairly dry or fairly cold. So this is what we got. Now, depending on what your style of work, what you're intending to do, you can paint it with acrylics. You can make it ceramic type. Um, you can put metallics on it, but again, be very careful. Don't make it too, oh goodness, fairgrounds fair stuff. I would say I'm tempting to go back to those powders I got. I know not everybody has them, but I cannot even express how excellent they are for stuff like this. Okay, let's try this. I'm going to use I have one that I didn't even open yet, the pink one. And just because, I mean, you can do this thing with acrylics. No, this one is from the polymer clay area, and only, I'm not sure if anybody else besides Hobby Lobby uses it. I think that they might be the only ones. I'm almost out of water on this. Alrighty. So let's grab this. Oops. Excuse me. And again, as I said, you can work with acrylic paints, not this. It's just more comfortable for me to do it because I have most of my non-metallic acrylic paints. They are in the laundry room and I would have to go for them and look for them. They are not in here. I keep mostly the metallics in here. I know it doesn't seem like much is happening here, does it? It's because it's wet. Okay, let me grab a little bit of the ivory. Oops. And then let's get some blue on the background. And make her hair green. And then I'll show you a trick or two with those Opal Magic waxes. On this you can use either Min Wax or if you have PYM2. Okay, I use the heat gun just to get the water to dry faster. Yeah, I didn't put any here. All right, and now I'm going to grab some wax and just gently magicize. And just work some magic on it. And I'll need a little metallic one too. Okay, so I need a little bit of blue here. I want the turquoise. And if you have these waxes, you don't need PYM or anything because they will go in. They are going to seal the powder pigment. Renaissance wax seems to lift it quite a bit, and that was on unbaked clay even. So I don't know. Try to do like this. But I'd still go, if you don't have these ones, I would still go with the rather spray Min Wax on. I wouldn't use Perlex, Zenta. I would use chalk pastels. Perlex is too shiny. That's exactly what I wanted to avoid in this. All that glitz and glittery stuff. And that's I'm going more for, as I said, for artsy fartsy stuff. And I'm going to use the silk for the face. So yeah, why did I use those? Just because I wanted these to get a certain color and effect. So I'm going to actually add a little bit more here. Okay, now I'm going to let these wait and put a little bit of metallic on that. Now just go for plain old silver. Actually, it's the flat one that helps, but yes, these ones you can clean very easily. That's why I like to use them for very fine and delicate wax application. Yeah, no, right now it looks fairly bad, but if you've seen me working with this before, you'll see that in about 7 more minutes it will look absolutely fabulous. And I think I'm going to want a little bit of it on the edges as well. Now let's see if it's dry enough. Okay, what happened? Yes, they do change color, and that's why I said I need to do a full tutorial on all of these, because they change color depending on the background, depending on how you overlayer them, because you can obtain different color effects by placing them one on top of the other. It's very, very different depending on what you decide to do. Now, are we ready? because now the magic is going to happen. I hope I waited enough. I know it's not enough for the edges. But you can get metal look with these. You can get polished wood. You can get ceramic look. You can get all kinds of looks. But especially vintagey stuff. And this is why these are called opal magic, because they create all kinds of iridescences and stuff. But the beauty doesn't come up until it's... Yeah. That's why it's called opal magic. And then you can layer even more. You can layer again some of the powder, and then some of the waxes again. And you get all kinds of different effects. And the metals are very metally. And there we go. Opal magic, yeah. And I put the artisan powders underneath. I try and make it. I did, but I did several tutorials already with it, and I'm getting ready to make another one that's more of a review. I'm missing only one of the opal magics. I need to order them Friday. The green brocade. Hold on. I might miss it. Oh, hold on. Yeah, no, those are all. So yeah, because there are 5 in the line. I'm missing the green brocade. So what I used here was the turquoise satin. And then here I used the royal robes on her hair, and on the face I used the vintage silk. And it looks different depending on what you're using, and when you're overlayering you obtain even more. Now watch this. So I did royal robes here. Let me look what happens if I add the blue velvet on top of it. On top of the royal robes. And again, it doesn't look like much when you just apply it. The magic happens when it hardens and you buff it. And let me put this time the vintage silk on top of the turquoise satin, just so for you to see how it changes depending on what's on top and what's underneath. It will get a completely different iridescence. Nevertheless, still an iridescence. And let's do her face now with the turquoise satin. And now we have to wait a few minutes for the wax to harden. Yes, it looks white with just a little bit of iridescence in the jar. And then when you use it in combination with the metallics, it's even more beautiful because it changes color on each of the different colors you place it on. It's going to look differently. It's an absolutely fabulous thing. And they are permanent waxes, so they don't need to be sealed. Well, of course, you need to wait a little bit longer than I do right now in order to buff. Normally about 10 to 15 minutes, up to 20 minutes, depending on how thick you've applied the layer, is enough for the wax to harden enough for you to buff it properly. But let's try. And you'll see how it changed color completely. The whole iridescence is changed. I'll do that here. And the whole aspect of your pendant is completely changed now. And then again, as I said, you can combine it with the powders. Now, it doesn't show entirely and perfectly because I didn't wait enough. But you can still get the idea. See all the iridescence? Oh, yes. That's what I've been doing for 3 days now. Trust me. That's what I've been doing for 3 days now. I've been trying it on everything and everything. I still need some of the artisan powders, one more of the Opal Magic, and I think like 3 of the metallics to have the entire palette to play with. But yeah, and as I said, you can combine them with the artisan powders and get even more effects. But you saw the, hold on. If you are new to my channel and you haven't seen my other tutorials on this, on the combination on this, I will put links on this one too, but if you look at my latest tutorials, there are links under in the video description, or if you go on my website and click on the polyclay play, you can get there. Right, yeah, there you go. With more, and I think that the other necklace, let me bring the other necklace that's got a lot of the powders on. See, this is a better example of how it looks in combination with the powders. and how you make it look like. This is the metallic, looks absolutely fabulous. And when you combine it, watch this tutorial that I put up, I think like 2 or 3 days ago, and you'll see how to combine them for all kinds of effect. But as I said, I will put up a more extensive review and tutorial on these. So I think that I've been up for a while and I'm finally starting to hurt. So I hope you enjoyed your little artsy-fartsy goddess pendant tutorial and how to reduce old canes. And I hope to see you on Sunday, where we'll continue the surface effects things that don't involve all these. And actually, these are not expensive. Trish is selling them for half the price of Amazon. They're like $5.85 a thing. They are, I mean, I used to love Gilder's paste, but now these will be my main thing. Okay. Thank you so much. And I shall see you hopefully Sunday if I survive these storms. Have a wonderful day. Goodbye.